Hey guys, welcome back to another weekly revival podcast. Today we've got Andrew Whitney. He's our Orem office market owner. Welcome on, Andrew.
Thanks. Happy to be here.
Yeah, we're excited to have you. Andrew is actually the head of the largest downline here at Revival as of right now. I don't think anyone's
Trying to keep it that way.
yeah. Yeah, I'm sure you're trying to keep it like that. So today we'll kind of do a deep dive and pick Andrew's brain for all you reps out there that are wondering, like, how is Andrew doing what he's done, or how has he accomplished what he has accomplished here at Revival, and what did that path look like? But before we do that, we want to start out with a few shout outs. Okay, last month, so I think at the end of the month we had let's see, Jake Garrett. Jake Garrett had a huge month. He did almost 200K, which is pretty dang impressive as a setter. Way to go, Jake. I don't know. He also qualified as a closer. I think he actually was already qualified. But he's working on closer pitch right now. We're super excited to see what he can do. I know Ben's talked a lot about Jake, and he's really pumped for him to start closing. You had a shout out, right?
I do. So shout out for Jared Forward. He just passed or set the record for year-to-date most revenue as a setter. So passed Nathan Belknap and took that number one spot, 590,000 in revenue. And he only started in like very end of May. So basically since June.
Yeah, I think we looked it up. First sales like May 24th or something. So yeah, pretty much June. That is awesome. That's over what, like, if you average it out over like 125K per month consistently. And I know he's had some big months in there too.
And probably I should mention the most impressive part of that is actually he's been in school full time the entire time. Taking 13 credits at UVU, and he's only working 4 days a week. So
Holy crap, that's way impressive.
extremely, yeah. I could never balance or juggle the
No
school
way,
and
no way.
perform like that.
Yeah,
So
this job's all about momentum and just like being able to focus on one thing. So the fact that you've been able to do that while balancing the two is totally insane. Now it makes me curious what you could do if you dropped out of school.
I know.
I'm not doing drop out.
No, every once in a while we'll do our little like drop out little chant, but no, he's pretty determined to become a therapist. So
Yeah. No, I'm a big advocate for education. I think you should get your degree, whether you end up using it or not. It's important to get an education. I'm a big believer in that.
sure.
But it doesn't always have to be the traditional route either.
Right. Right.
So that's awesome. I had one last shout out. What was it? I was telling you earlier. Let me see. Oh, I remembered it. It was Brandon. Dude, Brandon always has hat tricks. And I was just looking at lead flow and saw Brandon had another hat trick this week. 3 closes, 3 runs in a row, 3 closes. That's always super impressive. It's fun to see that as a closer, and as a leader.
Yeah, I don't know if we track this, but I would dare say he has more hat tricks than any other closer in the company.
Absolutely, dude. I think every single week I look at lead flow, I'm like, holy crap! Like, what is that guy doing?
Yeah.
We're gonna have to for sure bring Brendan in here and pick his brain.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, he's on fire.
yeah, awesome. Well, let's dive in. So Andrew, let's start off. Actually, I'm gonna kind of jump a little bit untraditional here. I want to start off, and I want to ask you, what is something weird about you? Something like most people don't really know that you don't like tell people when you're introducing yourself or telling your background. It's like just for example,
Yeah,
what sparked this one this morning was I was making waffles for my kids, and then when I was done making the waffles, I was like licking all the waffle batter out of the bowl at the end. And I like freaking love waffle batter. I love cookie dough. Everyone loves cookie dough.
yeah.
But I like cookie dough more than the cookies. I like actually bread dough, which is like super weird. Like all the batters, all the doughs, everything. Like I like dough, and that's just something like kind of weird about me.
And now you're rolling in dough, right?
And now I'm rolling in the dough. Just kidding. Not as much as you. No.
That's awesome. Um, so when I was in high school, living in Arkansas, we had 17 acres, and my parents bought a bunch of milk goats. So I milk goats every morning, and I basically just drank goat milk
Oh,
all through high school.
do you like goat milk?
I liked it. Yeah, my siblings wouldn't touch it, so it was like it's just me.
It's all for you.
Yeah, like cereal, protein shakes, everything goat milk.
Dude, I tried goat milk, but it's so gross. Maybe it was a bad goat. I don't know.
Yeah, no, we had Nigerian dwarfs, so they have really high butterfat content, so it's
Interesting.
more creamy. And then you gotta make sure they're not eating, like onions and weird stuff. Yeah, so that and then I also I guess it's kinda weird too. I like one of my hobbies in high school was, like, taxidermy, like tanning hides, like
Really?
animals' hides, yeah, so I did a few, like, coyotes, let's see,
Were
raccoons.
they your own kills or you did that for other people?
Some was for other people, yeah, like, there was a sister missionary in our ward that was serving in our ward, and she was like, "If I bring you a raccoon, will you make me a coonskin cap?" I
What?
was like, "Sure." So she found this raccoon, it was roadkill.
Oh,
Then she like, this sister missionary, like, got a trash bag, picked it up, brought it to me. It was pretty fresh, though, and, so I made her a coonskin cap, and she was super proud of it, and,
my question is, how long after she asked you did she find that roadkill?
oh, it was, like, 2 days later. I
That's
mean,
like
but
crazy.
this is Arkansas, there's roadkill
Okay,
everywhere.
okay, okay.
So she probably passed a few
She's been
raccoons,
seeing them
and she
all the
was like,
time.
"That's
It's
a
like,
good one."
let me grab those. Okay, got it, got it.
Yeah, like, some of our goats too, we had our neighbor had a pit bull that got out once when we were at church, we came home and it killed, like, 3 of our goats,
Jeez,
and so
you just text.
I didn't let
You're
anything
good.
go to waste, dude. I, like, taxidermied the goats, and
Nice.
then we had goat meat too, so
Well, there you go. That's definitely interesting facts. I love that.
yeah.
Cool. Awesome. Well, let's dive in a little bit on your background. Like, how did you end up getting to where you're at right now? Like, where did this journey of sales start?
Yeah.
Were you always in sales, like right after the
No,
mission,
well,
before the mission? What how did
before,
that
yeah. So, yeah, I graduated a year early from high school, so 2015, and I was actually I skipped a grade, so I was 16 my whole senior year.
really
Turned
skip a
17
grade?
in March, graduated in May, so I was like,
What grade did you skip?
uh so I was homeschooled, and then when I transitioned into public school
Okay.
for my last 2 years, they're like, "Oh, you have more
Jumped in.
credits than you need." So I guess I skipped my, like, sophomore year and just went in
Got
as a
So
junior.
you were homeschooled all the way up until sophomore year or junior year of high school.
On and off, on and off
Okay.
because, yeah, my dad was in the military, so we moved around, so it just
Mhm.
depended where we were living. If they had good public schools, I'd go to public schools, so, like, when we were in Arkansas, I was homeschooled because the school sucked, and then,
Uh-huh.
for elementary school at least. Then we moved to Colorado Springs public school, then back to Arkansas, and I was homeschooled for a couple years, and then I just wanted more friends, wanted to do
Mhm.
sports and stuff, so my last 2 years, I was,
Nice.
in public school.
Wow, that's cool. I actually didn't
Yeah.
know that. Did you prefer, like, getting homeschooled or did you prefer public school?
I don't know, pros and cons to each. I think I probably learned more actually homeschooled,
Yeah.
but I'm a very social person,
Yeah.
and so I
Yeah,
guess
for
out of
sure.
that, yeah.
Cool. That's interesting. Cause yeah, we're homeschooling our kids just cause
Cool,
I know, systems get a little bit interesting.
for sure, yeah. Utah's not as bad as some other places, but
Yeah, for sure.
yeah. So graduated a year early, so I couldn't go right on my mission. So I actually went to Alaska with my grandpa. He goes up there. Well, he used to go up like every summer to go salmon fishing, and he had a little cabin. And the guy who had the cabin next to him, his name was Hank, and they were kind of buddies. So I got
Yeah.
to know Hank fairly well. He had like just the coolest lifestyle because I told you I like taxidermy.
Yeah.
He had a fur trapping business in like Indiana, so in the winters, he would be in Indiana just trapping, like, tons of animals and selling the pelts. Then in the summer, he'd go to Alaska and he had a window cleaning business. So he'd, like, switch back and forth.
Was he, out like a mountain man, like, trapper, like,
Yeah.
out in the wild?
Oh, yeah, his big
So
beard. Hank was, like, super manly guy. So I was like,
so
"This guy's awesome." Um, and yeah, so I just, like, picked his brain. I'm like, "So how'd you start your window cleaning business?" And he taught me how he bid jobs, how to clean windows. Um So I just determined right there, I'm like, "Hey, when I get back to Arkansas, I'm gonna start my own window cleaning business, and that's how I'm gonna pay for my mission." 'Cause I'd never had a job up until that point. So,
yeah.
got back, got my business license, got my dad had a ladder and a bucket, and so all I had to buy was, like, a squeegee and some, like, towels,
Uh-huh.
and so it was, like, $100 to get this thing going, and I printed off a bunch of flyers, and at first, I was afraid to knock doors. I was afraid to go talk to people, so didn't have any training, right? So I just
This is right out of high school.
this is right up yeah, just turned 17. So, I'm just putting flyers on people's doorsteps, and then, I started to realize, like, sometimes I'd run into people, like, they'd be walking out as I was, like, going to leave the flyer, and I just talk to them, and, like, a high percentage of the people that I was just talking to face to face would end up buying the window cleaning. So, I was like, "Alright, I guess I'm not too bad at this, like,
Yeah.
maybe I should knock doors." So I started knocking doors, but I had no pitch. I'd just be like, "Hey, I just wanna introduce myself, I do window cleaning, here's my flyer, call me if you're interested," right? Still getting a better conversion rate just by having them put a face to the name, right?
Yeah.
But I knock on this guy's door, this is in Maumelle, Arkansas, and the guy I thought he was rude in the moment because he's like, "What are you doing, man?" He's like, "That is not a pitch. I've been in sales for 20 years." He's like, "That is not a pitch. There's no hook, like, there's no" And I had no clue what he was talking about. He's like, "I'm just gonna give you some tips, like, just knock the door and say, 'Hey, I'd like to give you a free estimate while I'm in the area today,' and you'll get more deals like that." So, I was like, "Okay," and then, yeah, I started doing it, so I just every door, "Hey, I'm Andrew, it's my business. I'd love to give you a free estimate while I'm here," and a lot of people would say yes. I'd walk around the house, count up the windows, write it down on the flyer, and then ask them if they wanted to go ahead and schedule it. So, pretty soft close, like, "Yeah, you wanna schedule something?" And started closing more just by doing that. So that was kind of my intro to sales, pretty weak pitch, but I paid for my mission and even had a little bit of money left over when I got
Dude, that's
home.
freaking awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So you're just solo business.
Mhm.
You didn't bring any, like, siblings, friends to work with you or anything. It's just
I had a couple
one-man
jobs
job.
that were big, and so I hired a guy in my ward who was looking for work to just come help me on them,
Okay.
when I had too many, but mostly just solo. But I loved it because like, all my buddies were making $10 an hour at, like, fast food restaurants, and I was making, like, $50 an hour on my jobs. So, I was like, "Yeah, I'm not going the traditional route."
Yeah. Yeah. Once you've tasted that, it's, like, hard to ever go back.
Yeah, for sure.
That's cool. Okay, so you started out, kinda doing your own thing. I feel like most successful door-to-door entrepreneurs started that behavior very young, which
Mm.
is kinda interesting. I mean, I was kinda the same way. It's like way back in geez, I don't even know how old I was. Probably like 10 or 12 or something, doing a similar thing, knocking doors, trying to get, like, lawn mowing jobs.
Yeah.
I remember that first summer I did that, I made, like, $500, like, "Yes, I'm rich.
Yeah,
I gotta do whatever I want," you know?
right.
And never had my parents, like, pay for anything. It's fun to always look back, see some of the successful, and then, like, track that back, like, where did that start?
Mhm.
Um, okay, so after that, you served a mission.
Mhm, Mexico.
Where'd you serve? Okay.
Yep.
Which part of Mexico?
Pachuca, so just north of Mexico City.
Right on. Are you still fluent?
Yeah, yeah.
Nice.
Closed some Spanish deals.
Nice. I wish I was still fluent in Russian, but not so much.
Yeah.
New
Well,
English.
you have probably less opportunities to use it.
Yeah, definitely,
Yeah.
definitely. We just hired an installer though. Shout out to Boris, and he's from Ukraine.
Cool.
Yeah, pretty sweet. Okay, so after the mission, did you jump right into the door to door? Did you know you were gonna go the door to door route, or do you think you were gonna kind of keep doing your window thing and kind of run your own business?
Yeah, so it's weird. Doing Windows sales, I didn't see myself as a door-to-door salesman, like, even though that's what I was doing.
Sure.
I was just like, "Oh, it's just my business."
Yeah, it's
I
my
could
business, and this is how I obtain customers. Yeah.
Right. My older brother went out and did pest control sales and didn't have, like, a great experience, and so, um, I was kinda hesitant. I guess skeptical would be a better word. So I went to BYU after the mission, did a semester, and I was just extremely broke. So I had I guess a little bit of background is my parents, while I was on my mission, my dad was out of work for a while, and so he got out of the Air Force and was looking for a job, and
Mhm.
so when I got home, they weren't, like, in a great spot financially, they had some credit card debt and stuff. So, I knew I couldn't really count on them for too much support, and so I just went back to window cleaning as soon as I got home from my mission, did that for, like, 4 months until the semester started, and I saved up just enough to buy a car to drive out. Bought a stick shift. I didn't even know how to drive a stick shift when I bought it,
Nice.
so I had to bring my mom with me to test drive it. So I've been talking to this guy on the phone, on, like, Facebook Marketplace, and I show up with my mom, and he, like, tosses me the keys, and I hand them to my mom, and he's like, "Wait, who's buying the car?" I'm like, "Well, I'm buying it, but I don't know how to have a stick." So, bought the car, learned I had, like, 2 days before I had to drive out to Utah, so I had to learn really
God.
quickly, and then drove across country. It was an adventure. Actually broke down in Kansas, got stuck there for a couple days,
Oh my
and
god.
just called a local bishop. I got on, like, the
Uh,
chapel locator, like, he
You're like, "Is that somebody for
yeah,
Texas?"
he had someone in his ward who's a mechanic who came and helped
Uh,
fix my car for free
dang.
and give me a place to stay, so it was
Dang,
like
dude, that's
they
awesome.
rescued me. Um, but anyway, long story long, I got to Utah with, like, no money at all. And so I was living with my uncle, and I was working and going to school, but just totally broke. There were times where I had to bum rides off people because I just didn't have gas money.
Jeez.
Like, I never ate out, right? I was just on a super thin budget, and like, my vision of college was I'm gonna go on so many dates, I'm just gonna be living it up, and I went on, like, no dates because I had no money.
Nobody.
Yeah, so that's what kinda started opening me up to the idea of sales. I'm like, "Okay, I see some of these guys making pretty good money." So I met with, Vivint, Aptiv, Hawks, like, all the companies that were trying to recruit me. Ended up going with Aptiv, just because my cousins were there and I trusted them, and I really liked the manager there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Who's your manager over at Aptiv?
It was Leah Durkin.
Nice, nice, cool. Okay, so you got into Aptiv. Seems like there's a lot of Aptiv guys over here.
Yeah.
We like Aptive.
And I've crossed paths even though we were there at the same
I
time.
know, it's kinda crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, there was, like, 3,000 reps, so also maybe not that crazy,
Yeah.
especially for different downlines. Now, what were some, like, defining moments doing door-to-door sales that helped it click inside your mind that you're like, "Okay, like, this is definitely the path I'm going to stay on?"
Yeah, so I guess after I signed with Aptiv, I had an opportunity to do an internship with an entrepreneur, and I was studying entrepreneurial management at BYU. So I went to Corbin Church. I think he still teaches entrepreneurship 101. And I was like, "Hey, so I've got this opportunity to like work closely with an entrepreneur, but it's free. It's an unpaid internship, but I'll learn a lot.
Uh-huh.
And I also have an opportunity to go do summer sales. What should I do?" And he said, "I would do summer sales because I think you'll actually learn more like sales skills from that, and you can get some capital to like start a business. But he said if you go out, you better make at least 40K. Like don't go out and make less than 40K." So that was my goal going into it. And I'd been kind of depressed, not gonna lie, my first semester, just was having a rough time adjusting to life. So
Mhm.
was not loving school. And I think once I got out there in the summer and started like figuring out sales and making money, that's like I think the first time since my mission that I was like really loving life again. And feeling like I had purpose and just really excited and had goals. So that was like a key turning point. I remember one day I was at the top of the leaderboard for the first time. I had like 6 sales on the day, and
Yeah.
I was number 1, and I was like it felt so good to be winning at something, right? So,
Yeah.
I was like, "I'm not letting anybody pass me." I just that was the first time I really got into flow state in sales, really just felt, that momentum, and then from there, it was my goal every day. I'm like, I gotta win. I gotta be the best." And that was really, really fun, and I ended up making, closer to 70K, so I definitely passed my goal going
Dude,
into
that's
some.
awesome. So that was your first summer of door-to-door sales,
Mhm.
70K.
Yeah.
That's sweet.
So that was life-changing money. Yeah, life-changing, and then ever since then, uh, I've just and going into it, my goal is, like, I'm gonna do this one time so I can make money. I'm not going back. Next summer, I'll do the internship.
Says every door-to-door sales with their first summer.
Yeah, but I liked it so much, I was like as soon as the summer was over, I re-signed for the next summer,
Yeah. Yeah.
started recruiting, and then that's when I really kind of said caught the vision of I wanna be a regional one day. Like,
Mhm.
I'm not just gonna be a door-to-door salesman, I wanna make
Mhm.
this a career path, so I'm going to
So this is after your
get
first summer, you decided that.
yeah,
That was like, "This is it. I'm
I
gonna
was all
be
in.
original." Yeah.
Yeah, and, started recruiting, brought out 9 guys with me my
Mhm.
second summer, and most of them didn't finish. I think I was a bit of a desperate recruiter at that point where, like, anybody with a pulse, I was like,
Uh,
"Come on out," you know?
yeah.
And so a lot of them ended up going home, but that was my first taste of, like, leadership and starting to train guys and help them, and I really liked that experience, and never became a regional in pest control. So my second summer, I was kind of co-managing. Third summer, managing a team, and that was in Orlando, Florida.
And then what I know you, ended up eventually switching over to solar. What did that transition look like? Why did you switch to solar?
Yeah. So, actually, that third summer, I was supposed to go sell in Rhode Island, right? So we actually drove all the way across the country to Rhode Island. We got there, and Aptiv was trying to pack 3 teams into Rhode Island, which is a tiny market.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That is crazy.
Yeah. So and we started looking around, and you know how they had the blue pins, and you could only knock blue
Yeah, yeah.
half the pins as we were driving around were these double-decker houses
Oh,
where it was like, they just have a lot of double and triple
yeah.
deckers, and you can't get to the top floor, so it'd be like 3 pins on one house because there's 3 addresses there. I'm like, "You only knock the bottom one, you can't knock the top 2."
Yeah.
So, we started doing math, I'm like, "Dude, our team is gonna knock through this in, like, 3 weeks, like, there are not enough houses here." So, I was kinda looking around at other options. Now my divisional so Leo at that point had become a divisional. He was gonna be managing the Orlando North team,
Uh-huh,
and he went out there for preseason, and some of his buddies that were doing solar convinced him to come, like, shadow them for a day.
uh-huh,
So he went out, shadowed a setter, and was like, "This guy's not that impressive," but he shown him his bank account, and he's like, "He's making tons of money." And then he went and shadowed a closer, and he's like, "Dude, this guy's just making a ton of money too. I think I could make more." So he switched his whole team over, like, right as the team was flying out, he's like, "Hey, we're switching to solar." That made a lot of waves at Aptiv.
yeah, I'm sure that was, really scary.
Right. They lost the whole team. But that opened up Orlando, which was a way better market. So I called my regional, Jake Bennington. I'm like, "Hey, can we just move our team down to Orlando now that that's vacant?" They already had housing set up. We still didn't even have housing set up in Rhode Island. We were in Airbnb.
Yeah.
So I'm like, "That solves a lot of problems. You don't have to find housing here. We'll take over that market."
Uh-huh.
We moved down, but now I'm living 10 minutes away from the owner of the solar company that Leo had switched to. And so now he's working on me, right? So he's like,
Yeah, what were your thoughts when, like, Leo switched? Were you like, "Oh, crap, like, what's gonna happen? Do I need to switch?"
yeah,
Or were you like, "Oh, sweet, yeah,
yeah.
now I have a good market."
So Leo had been an awesome mentor to me for my first and second year, and so I knew he's a smart guy. If he's switching, there's something to it. So I was tempted to switch, but I also wanted the responsibility of like being a manager, right?
Yeah.
And I knew it would be good for me to grow. If I just went and sold under Leo, I wouldn't have that growth opportunity.
Mhm.
So that was like the deciding factor on why I was going to stay. So I yeah decided to stay, but then I went and met with Judd Stanger. He's the owner of it was AKE at the time, and he invites my wife and I over for steak. So we meet with him. He just lays out the whole business model, and it was like mind blowing to me. I'm like, what am I doing? I could make way more money over here.
Uh-huh.
And so I called my regional and said, "Hey, we're switching our team." Like I pitched the team on it. I'm like, "Guys, we're gonna go down to South Florida with Leo. We're gonna sell solar. You're all gonna make more money." So we were full on leaving. We were out. And so then Jake talks to Vess and Connor Ruggiero. They call us up and they're trying to convince us to stay. And Connor's like, "Hey, this is super on the down low right now, but we actually have a pilot team out in San Diego doing solar." So this is Aptive Solar before it,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah.
And Aptive Solar was not a proactive like, "Oh, we can see that this is a great opportunity. Let's build a solar company." It was like, "Shoot, like whole teams are switching to solar. We need to find a way to like plug this leak in the boat.
Right.
So let's build a solar company." So it's kind of a reactive thing, but pilot program was going on. And he said, "We weren't planning on launching Florida very quickly, but if you guys stay, we'll get closers out there and you guys can sell pest control and set solar leads. And we'll like have you guys pilot kind of being a hybrid team."
Mhm.
Um, and so I was still like not convinced. So we are like, "No,
Yeah.
thanks, we're leaving." So then we got another call with Vess. He pulled out the big guns and he's like, "If you guys just stay and finish the summer, I'll pay you $100,000 extra on top of whatever you were gonna make." So basically bribed us to stay. And I was
Oh, that
already
was that was just to you as the manager?
so Ryan and I were co-managing.
Okay. So you
Um,
guys are gonna
so
split the
he told no,
50/50?
each.
Each?
He's like, "We'll pay you each 100 grand
Oh,
just to
that's good.
finish your contract." So
Uh,
I did the math. I'm like, I'd probably end up making the same
uh-huh.
as if I switched to solar by getting that extra 100K, and I get the leadership
Yeah.
opportunity. So yeah, I took it, took the bribe, and
So how did you convince your team after you'd already told your team that you're gonna leave?
yeah,
How'd you convince them? Because they probably didn't know that you're getting paid 100 grand, right?
yeah.
Or did
So that no, 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 no. So that was the other part of it. I even after he offered the 100K, I still said no. It doesn't make sense for my guys to stay. And he's like, "Well, how can we make it make sense for them?" And I said, I was on a marketing deal. I was like, "Give if you give everybody a 5% raise, but don't take like give my marketing deal also a
yeah, yeah,
5%
it's
raise,
the whole stack, 5%.
everything 5%, then I think and $1,000 bonus like advance just paid to everybody." So that's how he convinced you.
Just like a meal kid.
Dude, it hooked them for all they were worth. So Aptiv paid everybody on the team $1,000, give us all 5% raise,
Crazy.
and
Just to
I
keep you for one more summer.
for one more summer.
Alright.
So I finished my dates, ended, yeah, like August 31st, and then September 2nd, I started selling solar. So we just packed up, drove straight down to Naples, Florida, got an Airbnb, and then next day I was wearing a new uniform doing solar.
That was crazy. So you finished the summer and then started the off season
Mhm.
doing the solar thing. That's so crazy. And you were in the same area, you said? Or no,
I was
it
like
was
2 hours south.
yeah, yeah, okay. And there. Okay, what were I wanna, like, hang out for a second in your pest control time period. What was what was a big failure? Like, every leader I feel like has a failure story. They're like, "Oh, dang, like, totally screwed up there, but I learned from it and became a better leader because of it." Can you think of, like, at least one moment where that was an "oh crap" moment?
Yeah. Um, well, that first summer with recruiting, I think I told you I was just desperate, and so I was recruiting selfishly, I would say, just thinking about how much can I make, and I just need more guys, and not really thinking about, is this person actually a good fit for summer sales? Is it in their best interest to come out? And so I think, I learned a good lesson from that, and, um it ends up costing you more too if you're recruiting selfishly, because then guys go home and you gotta cover their rent, and it's not worth it. So, taking away from that experience, I was like, "I'm only gonna work with people if it's genuinely gonna be, like, a life-changing opportunity for them and actually make sense for them, and I'm not gonna recruit people if that's not the case."
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I love that mentality of, yeah, not recruiting selfishly, as in really pitching this opportunity as this is the best opportunity for you.
mhm.
Like, I will obviously benefit from it, and because if you can provide value for someone, like, you're going to reap
Right,
rewards. Uh, First and foremost is that rep's experience
yeah,
rather than your pay cut on them.
right.
So that's cool.
That was the first one. Second, or my 3rd summer when I was in Orlando, I did start to get lazy. I think knowing that I had 100K coming in no matter what.
Oh, I'm sure, yeah. It's a
Um,
little bit of complacency there.
yeah, and just, like, we've talked about this actually recently. Anytime you, like, go into standby mode or, like, hold down the fort and you don't see a vision, like, your effort you just kinda check out, right? And so
For sure.
my
You're the
first 2 summers.
senioritis, right? It's like,
Yes.
I'm done in a couple of months, like, what's the point?
Right. So my first 2 summers, I was like, "I'm all in, active forever. I'm gonna be a regional here." And so everything I was doing was through that lens and that vision. Then the 3rd summer, I knew I was just like, I have an end date and I'm bouncing anyway, so my effort dropped. I did have some of my best days that summer. I had a 14-day, in Orlando. So I still did pretty well, but not as well as I could have done.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's crazy what kind of an impact it has when you have a super clear vision
Yeah.
and you're dreaming big, right?
Mhm.
Um, okay, well, let's fast forward again back into your solar days then. It's like these were the glory days of solar,
Oh, yeah.
right?
I got in at the very best time, and I left at the best time. I just rode, like, the peak of the wave, and it was perfect.
Yeah. So what were the dates or the years, glory days of solar?
So 2021, I got into it, and I got out 2023, so I feel like that was the best time to be in it.
Mhm.
Um,
And why was it so good then?
so in Florida, a lot of people just hadn't heard the pitch yet, you know? And Florida had raised prices, like, it just interest rates also, huge factor. There's a lot of factors in making solar viable. Um, and so interest rates super low because it's right post-COVID. So we were selling people on like a 0.49% 25-year loan.
That is
So people
insane.
are like, "That's free money," right?
Yeah.
Just the terms on the loan were enough to get people to say yes.
What in the world?
Um, and so everybody we were saving them tons of money from day one. It's like it was a no-brainer not to do it. And it was just easy, and they hadn't heard the pitch, so sales resistance was low. It was really easy to get people to just check it out. Be like, "Have you sat down with anybody? No? Cool. We'll check it out, see if we can save you money." Yeah, why not, right? So,
Right.
just easy pickings. And then we went to Arkansas. So I was in Naples for, like, 2.5 months, and then which, by the way, gotta give Judd some credit. When he recruited me, he said, "If you just come over," he told me, "The bottleneck on growth is leadership. Like, we can put out an Indeed ad and recruit setters, and then we'll find closers. Like, if you have setters that are producing leads, the closers are gonna come,
Right.
but we need, like, leaders that can actually train guys how to do door to door." And so he's like, "You have leadership. If you can come over here within 6 months, if you just grind it out, we will have you running your own team." And I'd been made promises in door to door before, and they're usually not delivered on exactly
Yeah.
how you'd expect,
Yeah.
unfortunately. And so I was like, whatever I get promised, I always multiply it by 2, right? I'm like, or cut it in half, I guess, depending.
Yeah.
So he said, 6 months. I'm like, cool. If I can be managing a team in a year, I'll be happy. 5 months later, I was managing a team. So Judd, like, actually delivered on what he said
Even early.
earlier than he said. So yeah, we went and blitzed Arkansas, which is where I'm from, right? So it's kind of cool. Uh, when he showed me the list of places that they wanted to open, number one on the list was Little Rock, Arkansas, which I lived there for 5 years. So I was excited about that. Went back. I had this vision. I was gonna like recruit all my high school buddies,
Yeah.
but didn't totally pan out. A lot of them were already in their careers at that point, but got a couple guys to join, and we just started. And Arkansas, very very little solar. Like nobody heard the pitch.
Yeah.
Power prices were a lot lower, so it was a little bit harder of a sale, but just such a soft market that we killed it.
Nice.
Mm,
That's crazy. And then, what ended up happening? You said you left at the perfect time. What
mm,
happened that, like, got you to exit solar?
yeah. So, first year was awesome. We were like that whole summer, that first summer, we were like the top team in the company. We were just absolutely killing it month after month. Second year, um, didn't quite hit the same results, but we were still making great money. What happened is a few factors, but, interest rates started creeping up again, right?
Mhm.
Um, just the lenders, right? In Arkansas, we couldn't do leases, it was all loans, and so
Got it.
the, what do you call it? The dealer fees on the loans are outrageous, so they just took the entire tax credit, like, the homeowner didn't see a penny of that, right?
That's ridiculous.
Um, but really the big one is the power companies. They have to kinda sign off on the install job
Mhm.
and do the interconnection so the homeowner can connect to the grid, and they just started putting a ton of roadblocks to make it really hard for us to get our deals approved because at the end of the day, we're switching over their customers, right?
Yeah, yeah, for
And
sure.
so they didn't like that, and so they started making it where we had to do a main panel upgrade on every single job, even if it was, like, a brand new construction, things like that.
Jeez.
At the same time, there were other companies that had better pricing, flexibility. Biggest one was Vivint, and so Vivint came in. What they were doing, they would switch over our customers on a better deal that we just couldn't match. We just couldn't compete, and then they would give them free security cameras, and they'd have, like, same-day install. So they'd switch them over, come up, like, doorbell, cameras, and then at that point, the customer can't switch
Yeah,
because they had already been installed.
yeah, that was genius right there.
Super genius.
Like, sell a customer, give them a freebie
Mhm.
that, like, guarantees they're going to stick.
Right.
It's like, give them some kinda gift. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
And so then, like, when we got the call that they were canceling, we'd be like, "Hey, yeah, so what's going on?" And they'd already been installed with the cameras, so we're like, we couldn't
But
do anything about it.
it's like,
And so a
it's
lot of our
all
reps,
right.
yeah, a lot of the reps were like, "Well, dude, if we can't beat them, join them, right?" Like, they have better pricing, and
So why did they have better pricing than you guys?
so Lumio, right, at this point, it was Lumio. AKE, a few other companies merged together to form Lumio, and they wanted to go public, right? So they're trying to IPO. So everything they're doing is not through the lens of what's gonna be best for the sales force,
Right.
it's what's gonna help our bottom line.
Yeah.
How can we
What's
be
gonna
more
increase our
profitable?
EBITDA, right?
EBITDA, exactly. So, yeah, that was it. They just it just we were getting squeezed really hard at the end there. Um, but yeah, so a lot of my top guys ended up leaving, and I kinda took it personally in the moment, but looking back, I don't blame them. They had a better opportunity there.
Right.
And so, yeah, that was kind of it. We had a good 2-year run, and then it was slowing down, and ended up I switched to Vivint for, like, 3 days. I just didn't like the way it was set up, and so, I ended up going back to Florida to try one more time with Lumio. So the vision was, "Let's go back to Florida." I brought, like, 5 or 6 guys with me, and we're gonna rebuild and recruit and then try and relaunch a new office in
Yep.
Florida. Um, but, yeah, really, ultimately, I went back, but we was having a lot of family issues at that point. Like, my marriage was in a rough spot because for the 2 years that we were having a great run financially, I was like a workaholic and was just totally neglecting my wife and kids. So, put them on the back burner, neglected that, and then, my wife had had our 2nd kid, was going through some postpartum depression. It was just a really rough time for us, so decided, "You know what? Like, this isn't working out. Let's just move back to Utah, and let's kinda take a break and restore some balance here and, like, work on our relationship
Yeah.
first."
Yeah.
And I wasn't sure actually at that point if I was even gonna get back into sales, because I didn't know if it was possible to, like, have a work-life balance,
Mhm.
and my family's my priority. So, I was looking at other options, like starting a business, going back to school even, and that's kinda where we met, was
Yeah.
after about 6 months after that point.
Yeah. So before we get into that, I actually want to kind of get a little bit personal, maybe,
Yeah.
and because like something I value a ton, I know you value a lot, is family and
Mm,
your relationship with your wife, with your kids. It's like keeping your priorities straight is super important, but also can be really difficult in a job where you are making a lot of money. And like
mhm,
I've seen the slippery slope uh, take a lot of guys and their marriages with them, which is really sad. And
mhm.
it sounds like kind of you guys were kind of on the brinks of
Brink is a good word. We were close, yeah.
yeah. So like I want to dive into that a little bit. Like, how did that happen? And what would you say to any rep out there that's like finding themselves starting to slide on that path? Like, how do you stop it? How do you recognize it?
Um,
Because I'm sure, and sorry,
no, it's a great
I,
question.
I'm sure it wasn't an intentional like, oh, I'm gonna put money and work in front of my family, right? I'm sure in your head, if you someone asked you, hey, what are your priorities? You probably would have been God,
Mhm,
religion, wife, kids, work.
right. For
But
sure,
that
like, on
probably
paper, yeah, those are my values,
yeah.
but the way I was investing my time and, like, prioritizing
Mhm.
was not in alignment with those values at all.
Correct.
So, um, yeah, how to catch it, like, you I think it's really important, and I do this actually now. Well, first, you gotta get clear on what your values actually are. and then constantly be checking to see if you're in alignment with that or not. So I'm wearing a collective hat right now. Join the collective like that. That would be a great way to
Yeah, I'm
to
joining
sure.
on CZ4 of Super Pub. It's
That's awesome.
in next week or 2 weeks.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like Corey Clark, his whole if I had to sum up everything he talks about, it's value-based living. So it's know your values and then make adjustments to be in alignment with your values. Um, Brian Tracy in the book Goals, he talks about like any time that you're suffering in life, it's probably arose from a misalignment of values. You're acting in a way that doesn't align. And so, yep.
Or
So
someone
so I have
biased.
a little activity that I do a couple times a week where I have some papers I've printed off. They have my values on them, and I just go through and I it's like a on a Likert scale where it's like not at all in alignment, somewhat in alignment, neutral, in alignment, or highly aligned. So I just have to assess myself every few days, like for each value, okay, connection, like how connected am I to my family, to my team, to God, right? And I assess that, and then health, like how in alignment am I living on that value? Excellence, how in alignment am I on that value? So as I go through my core values, then I have a little spot at the bottom where I can just go through and write, okay, if I was out of alignment, what do I need to do to get back in alignment? So that's been a game changer for me to just like constant like
Yeah.
check-ins with myself.
So simple. So simple, but that is powerful.
Hmm.
It's like, yeah, I bet if any one of us were to sit down and actually do that right now, it's like we'd find like, oh yeah, I'm actually out of alignment in this area or this area.
Hmm.
It's like easy course corrections if you're doing it frequently, right?
Right.
Right.
And so I guess we can talk about this, but in the 6 months between me leaving solar and starting at Revival, I got certified as a life coach. And so because the part of my job that I love the most, in pest control and in solar was just teaching guys, right? Teaching, helping people set and achieve their goals. And so I was like, yeah, I'd love to be a life coach and just do that 100% of my time, right? So, um, got certified and then ended up coming back to sales anyway, but I've been able to use so much of that in my sales work as a leader, right, to help guys, and so I realized I have all these one-on-ones with my guys, but I need to have a one-on-one with myself every once in a while too, just to make sure I'm in alignment, I'm on track with what I want. So, I guess if I had to sum it up, like, figure out what your core values are, make the adjustments you need to be in alignment, and then you won't get too far off the beaten path.
That's awesome. That is powerful. So everyone watching that, like write that down and start doing that. I'm gonna start doing that. I'm sure I'll learn a little bit more about that
For sure.
in the collective as well.
Yeah.
So, yeah, thanks for sharing that. I know it's like hard to admit to huge mistakes,
Mhm.
right? But it's so powerful to be there and to come out of it on top and learn from it. So then you can help other people that are like kind of falling down that same path.
Mhm.
So now we can kind of jump into like how'd you end up here? You were doing the life coach
Yeah.
thing. You thought you're never going back to sales.
Yeah, I wasn't totally opposed to, like, ever going back, but, just that last experience was, like, hard on my family, right? So,
Yeah.
I think I had a little bit of a self-limiting belief. I'm like, "Oh, sales is just not good for my family," right? I kinda generalized that,
Yeah.
and so, yeah, I so it'd been 6 months, luckily we had a good amount of savings when we left solar,
Mhm.
but that account was starting to get lower after 6 months of not working
Sure.
at all,
Yeah.
and so it was like my wife and I had a conversation in the morning like, "Hey, we should probably start looking for work," and then we went to the park with our kids and met your sister-in-law, Mikkel. So,
Shout out to Mikhail.
shout out to Mikkel. So I had an old Aptiv t-shirt on because Aptiv's really good at giving out awesome swag, and I was wearing my Aptiv t-shirt, and she saw it and struck up a conversation with me and said, "Oh, my husband used to work at Aptiv," and I said, "Cool, yeah, I don't work there anymore either. What is he doing now?" And she said, "Well, him and his brother are starting a window replacement company." And I'd never heard of anyone doing windows door to door. So I was intrigued, and my wife and I that day had been talking about we should probably start looking for something now.
Uh-huh.
And so I gave her my
It's
number.
a sign.
Yeah, Ben reached out and, came in. I don't know if you remember the first time, we met, you, like, showed me the window and went through the whole window presentation. I had so many questions because I had, like, PTSD from solar. I'm like,
Uh,
"Okay, but how many of those are gonna cancel?" Right?
right.
And every, like, I was trying to throw you curveballs to, like, trip you up, and, like, you just everything you answered, I was like, "Okay, where's the where's the catch?" Yeah, product seems too good to be true, right? I was like, "What about adders, though? You're probably gonna charge me back for adders." And you're like, "No, you get commission on that." Like, I was like, what the heck? Like, why aren't more people doing this?" So, it was pretty cool. And
Yeah, I wish I actually remembered that. I feel like I'm really good at, like, remembering the first time I met people, but for some reason, I cannot remember that meeting with you.
oh,
I remember, like, you early on in sales, I remember, like, working with you the whole time, but, like, that initial
it was just, me, you, and James after I came into the meeting and then stuck around after. We were just in that little original Orem office that
there was a little office, yeah, okay, cool. And, okay, so I wanna take a second, um, and talk about some of these things that you're like, "What the heck? This sounds too good to be true," especially coming from the solar industry.
Yeah.
I want you to compare and contrast solar pros and cons compared to Windows. Taking out the fact that solar is kind of having a really rough time right now with, like, the good, beautiful bill, but just, like, solar in general versus Windows.
Yeah, well, I'll just start from, you have the setter perspective. So, as a setter, you gotta look for good roofs, right? And what makes a good roof, there can't be a lot of shade. Um, if there is a lot of shade, you might have to cut down trees. In Arkansas, what we ran into all the time is, like, the trees are so massive there, your roof might be shaded by trees that are 2 properties over,
Jeez,
right?
that's
And
crazy.
so, like, you can't go tell your neighbors to cut down their trees so you can get solar.
Yeah.
So trees, they have to have a good roof, can't be too old, right?
Mhm.
Um, and then just certain roof types we couldn't install on. It has to be like south facing. If you don't have any good south facing exposure, you're not going to get any kind of production. So it kind of narrows down the number of houses that are actually viable fits. Whereas with windows, like every single house has windows. So you're not constantly checking the heat map and being like, oh, should I knock this one? Should I not? It's just you can get into flow a lot better
Mhm.
and just way more qualified candidates. So one of the problems with that in Arkansas, like Judd was, I was always telling Judd, dude, we're re-knocking so often, we need more area, right? He's like, you have 1 million homes in your area. Like, yeah, but half of those are shade fields, right? And there's nothing we can do about it.
Right.
Or trailer parks, or like just stuff that we couldn't sell.
Yeah.
And so the actual number of doors that were viable was probably like 10% of that.
Dang, that's crazy.
Yeah.
1 in 10.
Yeah, for that market, and so that means that we're just re-knocking those houses really often, but then all the other companies are also targeting that little
Yeah, yeah.
demographic, and so I would estimate that at the end when they're, because we were, like, the first company there and Vivint, and then there were, like, 20 solar companies by the time we left. Now they're all gone because Arkansas actually, they changed their net metering, so all the companies that were there just, like, left overnight because now it absolutely makes no sense for homeowners. But um, oh gosh, lost my train of thought. Oh yeah, so for setters, it just I would estimate that they were getting homeowners were getting their door knocked probably 25 or 30 times a year for solar because of that small pool.
Yeah,
So markets get saturated quickly.
yeah.
Um, Now as a closer, with closing, the close it takes a little longer. There's a lot more educating the customer on how solar works. It's just somewhat of a novel concept for people. And then docs, it's a lot of documents to read through and sign. Financing takes a while, and you have to do, like, the verification calls afterwards and stuff.
So how long was, like, an average close for solar?
So mine were, like, 2 to 3 hours on average. I know some people have gotten quicker at it. I've heard people say they're in and out in, like, under an hour. I never had a close that was under an hour. It might be easier if you're selling a lease too, but yeah, it's a longer process. Um, Whereas with Windows, on the other hand, it's so because the close takes a long time, you can only run a couple appointments in a day. Like if I had 3 appointments in a day, I was like burnt at the end of the day. I'm like, dude, that was so like so much.
It was a full day, yeah.
Full day. Um, in Windows though, like the appointments are really quick. So you're not having to build out a proposal before you go in. Oh, that's the other part is you have to build the proposal before you even go to the house, right? So sometimes you'll spend 30, 40, maybe an hour building a proposal, and then you get there and the homeowner's not even home, right? You're like, well, I just wasted all that time.
Yeah, that's gotta be
Um, so it's not just the time of the appointment, but you're investing time prior to that. So in Windows, we're not building out proposals. You're just showing up and you go in, you show them the window, you measure, you quote them. It either makes sense or it doesn't. If it's a no, you're out in 45 minutes. If it's a yes, you're out in an hour because you're doing some paperwork.
right.
And so because of that, you're able to run a lot more appointments in a day, which is how Brennan's able to get his hat tricks like every other week, right?
Right.
And we've seen guys get 4, I think Brennan's had a couple 4 days even.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah, we've had multiple guys just 4 in a row
yeah,
closes.
yeah, and I just don't know many people who could do that in solar. So,
Yeah.
you can close a lot more deals because of that. Um, As far as the market too, that's a big thing is, like, if you're somebody who wants to make a career in solar, and also have a family, it is hard because the market there's a lot of factors that go into it. We already talked about the power company, interest rates, government incentives, all those things, but, also just the state policies. So, you might be in a market that's really juicy for 6 months, and then it's completely dry, and you gotta go somewhere else. So, if you wanna just really plant down and, like, grow somewhere, it's pretty difficult in solar.
Right. That's why
You
there's
almost have to
so
be
many,
doing a
like,
blitz model.
blitz models. Yeah.
The blitz model is kind of growing because of that. So if you're single and or if you don't mind being away from your wife 2 weeks out of the month, right? Go for it. For me, that's not the lifestyle that I wanted to have, and so with windows, you really can, like, plant down in a market and just be there long term.
Yeah, that's really cool. That's actually one of the main things that I loved about Windows as well. Because I mean, I wasn't ever doing blitz models solar, but even pest control, right? If you're going out for the summer, that means you're moving twice a year or leaving your family, which I never would do, right? And you're out there for 4 months out of every single year where you pretty much don't see your wiper kids because
Mm,
like, sun up till sundown. It's like, it's crazy,
100%.
crazy hours.
Oh, probably the biggest difference though, like, most of the questions I was asking you were about the install process and just the
Yeah.
timeline of getting paid and everything. It's a long process in solar. You got you close the deal, and then you have the site survey, and then those get submitted. There's a review process, engineering, and then you have to get permits, right? Depending on the jurisdiction, that can take a long time or it can be quick. Um, then after that, you got go get installed, and then homeowner has to get PTO'd or turned on basically.
Uh-huh.
Um, and they can cancel all the way up until install. Like in Arkansas, our average install is 2 months, and the homeowner could change their mind the day before, and you're not getting paid on that deal.
Dude, that's so crazy.
So I think industry average right now is like 40% cancellation in solar. Um, so that was a frustration. Now, the process in Windows is so simple. We close it, we have someone go out and take fine measurements, and then we order the windows. Now, it's still 10, 12 weeks before install, but it doesn't matter because once those windows are ordered, the customer can't cancel. Like those are custom built for them. They cut the glass. Those windows aren't going to fit in anyone else's home, and so they're going to get installed. And so because of that, we're not waiting till install to get paid. We get paid out the following Friday, and yeah, you close the deal today, next Friday you're getting paid on it, no front end, back end. So, like, for high ticket sales, I've never seen anything that pays out as quickly as Windows.
Actually mind blowing. Like, when I got into it, I was like, "No freaking way that you're getting paid all of that next week."
Mhm,
It just doesn't happen in
mhm.
any door-to-door industry. So it is very unique in that sense. So yeah, definitely Windows has some strong advantages. So those are the things that you're sitting there like, "No way, like, where's the catch?"
Yeah,
Right?
I'm like, there's no way, like, you guys can pay out the following Friday and, like, be profitable as a company, right? Because if a solar company did that with how many cancellations they have, they just go out of business.
Yeah, go
You
to
can't
business so fast.
no, yeah.
Yeah.
So I was like, "There's no way," but, yeah, I've been here for 2 years now. There's a way.
There's a way. It works. So, okay, kinda last thing I wanna hit on with you is I'm sure there's a lot of reps watching out here that are wondering, like, they're watching you and the company's only been alive for 2 years, which is actually crazy to think about as well. It's like the amount that we've been able to accomplish in that time, and you've been with us pretty much since the beginning,
Mhm.
right? You're one of our first reps. Wasn't like family or close friends
Right.
already before Revival started. Um, and so in just 2 years, you've already been able to grow your downline pretty massive and have some big payouts. So, uh, like, it's just crazy to watch how fast that can happen. Walk us through a little bit what that looked like from you starting here to growing your downline. Like, what was your path of progression?
Mm. So I started, um I was so skeptical, I didn't even go all in at the beginning, right? I was working, like, part-time, kinda try dabbling
Yeah, I
into it,
remember those days.
and so, obviously, no growth or recruiting when you're half in, half out.
Yeah.
It wasn't until
We didn't have the vision, right?
right, didn't catch the vision, so it was finally when I caught the vision, went all in, that the recruiting started to take hold. Um, my thing is, like, recruiting I teach guys this when I teach them how to recruit. I draw a Venn diagram, right? And you have recruiting and you have sales. And in sales, the goal is a transaction, right? It's like, I want your credit card and I'm gonna give you the product and we're never gonna talk again, right? Um, and so or at least that's how a lot of people treat it. In recruiting, that's not the goal. Your goal is not to sign people. The end goal is a relationship. And so you want to be make sure that you're setting the right expectations and creating a relationship where that person's gonna want to work with you long term. And it's like if you can deliver on those expectations and people are really happy, then they're gonna tell their friends about it. And so I think the key to good recruiting just comes down to good leadership. And it's like the lesson I learned my first summer of recruiting is only recruit people if it's in their best interest. And that's like having integrity with recruiting. Um, I see a lot of recruiters telling guys they're going to make 100K when, like, that rep's not going to go out and make 100K.
Right.
And so just like help people set realistic goals.
Then be honest with them, right?
Be honest with them. Don't show averages that are totally skewed. It's like
Yeah.
you're showing like what the top 5% of guys do, and you're saying that's your average.
It always bugs me so bad. So yeah, open up your books and show me the actual numbers.
Right. So just having integrity with your recruiting, making sure that you take care of your guys, and then that's that's really it. Like so a lot of the downline growth has come through Peter, right? So I can tell his story really quick. So Peter and I just met at church, and I kind of have a rule. I don't recruit people from church just because I don't want to like
Have it awkward if it
have
doesn't work
yeah, if it
out.
doesn't work out and it's awkward or um yeah. So I just don't recruit people from church, but we were friends. We talk every Sunday, and he was selling decks and pergolas and not loving life. I didn't realize how much he hated his job at the time. I probably would have tried to recruit him if I realized he was like miserable at that job. But he reached out to me and said, "Hey, like, what would it look like if I came and worked with you?" So I said, "Well, just come shadow me." So we meet up at a church parking lot and get out. Very first door I knock, I set it as a same day, and then I went back like an hour later and closed it. And so he saw me like make like over $1,000 in like an hour of work, and he was like, "Dude, this is crazy. I'm all in." And so we're in the car after that. We only knocked for a little bit or he had to go, so but give him a taste, and then we were talking. He's like, "Dude, since I got home from my mission, I've just had the goal I wanna make 6 figures, but I keep getting like 60K, 65K in that range." Um, Peter's, I think, 23, so just married 1 kid. But he's like, "Do you think it's realistic for you to make 6 figures here?" I'm like, "Dude, 100%. Like, I will if you go all in, I will show you how to make 6 figures next year. You will hit it." And he's like, "Okay." And he told me but Peter has a great vision. He told me, like, his 5-year plan, and he wants to build a house and have, like, enough property that they can grow their own food and have their own animals and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. I
So
love Peter's vision. It's
yeah.
awesome.
So he's like, "Cool." So he knows, "Okay, next year I need to make this much, and then I need to put this much away," and, like, he's got this whole vision of what he wants. So he basically I got to know his vision first, and then I showed him how Revival could help him get his vision, and he's like, "Yeah, let's do it." So I finished up his job. That was, like, November of last year. Finished that up, started, like, January 1st, started here at Revival. First couple weeks, just going through that learning curve, nothing spectacular. He got a sale or 2, but then his first full month, he, did over it was almost 300K, 280 as a setter. I think he actually broke 300K, had, like, 1 deal
Oh,
canceled
yeah, he was going
out of
for, Quentin's record, which was 293.
yeah,
Then he had, like, a cancel, and he was just below or something.
just yeah, he passed it, thought he was good, and then had 1
Yeah,
cancel
yeah.
problem just below.
Totally remember that.
So, but he crushed it as a setter. So January, February setting, and then started closing in March. So March, April closing, and then really started recruiting. Recruited his brother, recruited Jared, and then those guys have good local networks. They've just been bringing their friends on, and now he just opened up Boise. So in 9, 10 months, went from no door to door experience all the way into managing a team, and he's already made 150K, and the year's not even over. He's gonna hit
There
200. So
there you go.
it's
Peter, it's possible.
yeah, yeah. If Peter can do it, anyone can do. No, Peter is spectacular.
No, and what's really crazy though is like you get a lot of guys actually that have that exact same ambition as Peter. It's like, dude, I just want to make 6 figures. Like 6 figures, that line gets thrown out in like the sales and recruiting industry all day, every day. This is how you make 6 figs. This is how you make 6 figs. Here's your path to 6 figures.
Mhm.
It's like they're talking about 6 figures in a year. What's really crazy is that you got a paycheck. We just paid you out 6 figures for a month.
Yeah.
So, like, what you were explaining just barely is not only your path to 6 figures in a year, but your path to 6 figures in a month. Like, that is mind blowing. It's like for
Yeah.
people out there, I don't even know if everyone out there realizes like the position of a manager and a recruiter in this company is extremely valuable. And like Andrew's able to do that within 2 years of the company. It's almost 2 years exactly. I think tomorrow is when we launched. Happy
Wow.
anniversary, Revival. That's exciting. So yeah, like
Yeah.
what did that feel like making 6 figures in a month for the first time?
It felt good. It took me I had the same goal, like, after my I told you my goal my first summer was just 40K, and then I overshot that. So then the next summer, I was like, "Okay, 100K." Didn't hit it, ended at 85 my second summer.
Mhm.
3rd summer, I hit it because Vest bribed me, but without the bribe, I wouldn't have hit it, like, for my personal sales and stuff. Um, so the first year that I feel like I really earned 6 figures was then that first year in solar, I ended with, like, 350K on the year. So I would say it took me 3 years of work to, like, become the kind of person who can generate that much value. Um, then it's like it's exponential from there, right? So it is kinda surreal that it took me 3 years of chasing that in a year, and now I did it in a month. But looking back, I'm like, I could have been doing this a long time ago, right? Once you learn how to do it, then it's easy to do it again. So I feel like really confident that I can teach anybody who's willing and humble. Like if you're, I tell everybody when I interview them, there's 3 things I look for in my guys. I want people on my team who are hungry, humble, and smart. Those are our cultural values. And
Team
so
player, right?
that's the ideal team player. Yep. Patrick
Patrick
Dempsey.
Lencioni.
Yeah. So hungry, you have ambitions, you have a vision, you know what you want. Humble, meaning you're teachable and you're gonna let me coach you and you're not gonna think you know better or try and go against the culture, but you're gonna just kind of do what's expected of you. And then smart, you don't need to be that smart to sell windows. Like as far as IQ, right? It's not rocket science, but it does really help to be emotionally intelligent. So just having some self-awareness, being able to build rapport. Those are learnable skills as well, but some people are like so far below baseline that it would just be hard for them to really, I don't know, excel. And so I'm looking for people that are like at least average in that area, that 3rd one. But if you're hungry, humble, and smart, I can help you make 6 figures.
Yeah. And we talk a lot about obviously the income. That's a big reason why people are in this job. But I was just watching this video. I think it's yesterday. I saw it on social media. Is Sam Taggart was interviewing Vess Pearson
Mm,
about kind of his success of Aptiv and them going public and selling. And Vess is sharing the experience. He's like on the phone with his wife. It's like, yeah, the wire just hit the account. And she's like, that's awesome, babe. When are you gonna be home for dinner? It's like
yeah.
it is like, that was it. Like, that was the celebration. It, like, wasn't like, your life doesn't change when
Mhm,
you get a big paycheck. Like, it is a big accomplishment and it is great, and money is obviously awesome because you can do so many good things with it, and I love the saying, Casey Boss says this all the time, is like, "Money is really only a magnifying glass for who you already are," right? However you use your money when you are making $1,000 a month, is the same way you're gonna use your money when you're making $100,000 in a month. So you gotta be doing those continual checks and balances. Like, where are my priorities? Like, what am I actually doing? And so it's really cool to see that you've been able to really take time to get real in your relationship with your wife and your kids, and make uh, that a higher priority than work, but also see massive success at work at the same time, so that you can use that income to actually have an even better time with your wife and with your kids. That's the difference, I feel like, between, uh or can be the difference between Windows and a lot of these other sales, is it creates the space and the platform for you to be able to have both at the same time. So
mhm.
you can actually have your cake and eat it too.
Yeah. Yeah, and I learned from my mistakes the first time around in management,
Yeah,
and, so I just have, standards and boundaries for myself that I'm not gonna make the same mistakes twice.
that's awesome.
Mm,
Cool. Well, thanks for coming out here today. I think a lot of people really look up to you and are eager to learn from you. So
thanks.
we appreciate it.
Thanks, Diamond.
Yeah.
Glad to be here.
Peace out, Revival.